speaking, and thank you for joining me today with my new video. I'm here with Donny, and we are going to be discussing what Mars in the sign of Aries will bring us. Also, you should know that Mars will spend 6 months here, and he usually has got a 6-week cycle, but this year he is also turning retrograde, which only happens every 2 years. So, yes, the year started huge. We know that. And, Saturn and Pluto, Jupiter conjunctions, and Mars joined as well at one point. So this is exactly when the coronavirus started and we got locked up and so forth. And now Mars is going to be exactly kind of in the same position. He's going to be squaring the big threes in the sign of Capricorn. So I believe it's going to be extremely crucial period of time, and we need to talk about it. So I asked Donny to join me today and shed some light of his opinion as well of what might be coming in the next 6 months. By the way, because of so many misbeliefs around Saturn, I've decided to do a webinar on Saturn on the 19th of July, and I'm especially going to be focusing on Saturn returns. What does that mean for you? As well as I'm going to be giving you some light on what to expect during Saturn transits. It is something like $39, and it's going to be a good 4-hour webinar. So I recommend to everyone who wants to deepen their knowledge on Saturn. How are you doing, Donny?
I'm good, actually. For the past few days, when Mars just entered Aries, I've got a jolt in my system. I suppose it's activating that 0-degree Cancer eclipse that we just had.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a surge in energy, and I'm just like, thank God it's simmering down.
One sign. Mars is sometimes called as the planet of a warrior. It represents your passion, your drive, your ambition, and it's your courage as well. Somehow, on the flip side, it's going to bring us some type of rage and reckless feelings as well. The worst of Mars is when it makes people very aggressive. So he's going to be spending 6 months in the sign of Aries, and it's a very strong position for him because he rules the sign itself. So he feels at home. This is what we call in astrology as a domicile position. So Donny, how do you feel about Mars entering the sign of Aries, which happened 3 days ago?
Well, it's definitely not a very subtle energy. Mars in Aries really goes for what it really wants. But since it's spending so much time in Aries, and during that period, there's going to be a retrograde phase for quite some time. I think from September to November. I think those are the key periods when it goes retrograde. I actually wrote down when Mars stays so long in the sign of Aries, are you going to fight, flight, or freeze?
Oh, very good. Yeah, I did make some notes like that as well, because obviously when Mars transiting through the signs, then the core energies are expressed in different ways. Now Mars is going to be in the sign of Aries, so it's the pure energy of Aries it's going to be experiencing. But Aries could be talking about a brave soldier. It could be talking about a destructive type of soldier as well who wants to take revenge. And it also could represent some type of reckless energy as well. So which one is it going to be, in your opinion?
Well, it can be like all of the 3 words I just said. Like, are you going to be one that like impulsively lash out in anger or self-defense, which is the fighting part of Mars? Are you going to flight, as in like turn around and just remove yourself from danger, backing away carefully and running running at a gallop,
Yeah.
or you can freeze,
Yeah.
which is be like a deer in the headlights kind of energy in which you just like caught by surprise. And you need to buy time to collect information, courage, and you probably do all this like when you're pumped with adrenaline as well, which is Mars. Um, to think about whether you want to act out of instinct or choose a more proactive response.
I completely agree with you. I think we're going to see all three sides of Mars. You know, maybe as soon as Mars went into the sign of Aries, the brave soldier somehow has risen. So, to talking about the collective, I feel like people might become more brave, and then they go to the beach, they go on the street. It's a little bit of a non-care attitude, because Mars has got this nature of it's about me, and no one else. Mars is the planet of survival instincts. Mars is the planet of individuality. And of course, Aries, because they are tied together. They are like, they represent each other in a way. Aries is pretty much the same characteristics as well. So we've got Mars in Aries, which is a very fiery, a very motivating energy. It gives you a boost of energy that you might feel very passionate about something, and then you might become very ambitious and purposeful, and you want to conquer the world. And probably this Mars might be saying that, you know what, I don't care. And as we said at the beginning, Mars is going to be having this connection to Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn a little bit later on, but it's going to happen by a square. So the very last time Mars met these three planets was something to do with January and March, when Mars was in the sign of Capricorn, and then he formed a conjunction with all three within those 2-month period. And then we knew what happened then. I'm not suggesting there is going to be a second phase of coronavirus, because it can be on a completely different manifestation level, but something similar is on the horizon. And I'm brave enough to announce that we're going to be experiencing similar traits of this Mars, especially because Mars went from exaltation into a domicile position. So this Mars is a lot more flary, a lot stronger as well.
I actually checked out in the past, like where Mars has gone retrograde in the sign of Aries. So it has gone retrograde in Aries last time in 1988.
1988, okay.
And also 1973. But these two are not pure Aries energy, because it did touch on Pisces and Taurus, one sign before and after. It only has a portion that's retrograde in Aries. But if you're talking about similar to this, as in like fully retrograde in the sign of Aries, Mars has done so back in 1941, which is when World War II actually happened. And if I were to research further back, it's in 1862 when the American Civil War actually took place.
I see.
So definitely not a subtle energy. Yeah.
Well, without making any predictions of what's coming, we definitely can expect, with Mars being in the sign of Aries, that we might feel a lot more motivated to get things done. We might feel a lot more competitive and ambitious. Aries is like, as I described, it's a soldier who wants to take the power back, who is hungry for having power. So for me, it really indicates that people might want to take the leadership back somehow in the world. They want to find the willpower within themselves to lead their lives. Because, and on one hand, I kind of understand if it was going to be the case. Why? Because someone else is controlling your life for the last 6-8 months now. And you know, Mars is all about taking action and let's go and get things done and let's initiate the project. And as I said, Mars is not going to care about, you know, what is happening. It's all about me and me and me. And you know, when there is that last straw syndrome with Mars, the anger is so pumped up at one point. So Mars feels so agitated that the glass is just bursting into millions of glasses, shattered glasses. So I'm expecting to see something like that in regards to Mars um, being in the sign of Aries, especially before it turns retrograde. Because at the moment we might have got that very strong and ambitious Mars, and the retrograde period is going to happen in September. However, Mars is going to be entering its shadow period somewhere at the end of July. So Mars can be described as a hostile energy. It's all about having a combat. The energy level with Mars can be up and down as well, though, because Mars doesn't necessarily know how to spin the energy out. It goes with a full fling at first. And maybe Saturn can help there. Thank God there is going to be this square where there could be a period of time when it slows Mars down a little bit. You know, imagine Saturn being like the stop sign on the roads, right? Saturn is the ticket controller. So Mars is always famous for driving fast, and then Saturn, the authority figures, comes around and then put a stop sign in front of them.
It's almost like when I see that Mars squaring Saturn, particularly because of all the three big boy planets in Capricorn, it's all ruled by Saturn. And when I see Mars square Saturn, it's almost like we are being cock blocked.
Yes.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And something just came to my mind though when Mars enters shadow, in which it will come back to that degree later on in the year. It actually activates a recent 2019 solar eclipse degree. I think it's at 15 of Capricorn. Mars will actually station at 15 of Aries, so it will like activate that point. I actually dug up what that eclipse was about in January 2019. And let me just read just kind of like the delineation of this eclipse. This eclipse is concerned with unusual groups and the individual's involvement with these groups. Time when the individual notices or suddenly desires to find a particular group whose concerns could be with healing, the arts, or the love of humanity. The individual will feel that through involvement with such a group, he or she will gain a great deal. This actually reminds me of the groups that appeared in the last few months regarding that has a revolutionary energy, like the ones in the US. And if I were to bring it down to everyday, I see more people as the months goes by in 2020, they are more like in a healing crisis of sorts. And I think this Mars in Aries retrograde can actually push them to actually reach out to like what I mentioned, like, you know, be it like astrology groups, healing groups, and other like occult related platforms in order to seek help to actually get an understanding of what is going on in the bigger picture, and hopefully can because Chiron is also in Aries as well, so it's about healing of sorts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably yes, and I agree with you because we also have got Chiron in the sign of Aries as well. And imagine that Chiron is like a wound, and it might start just as a pimple, or it might just start with a spot, and then you know you wanna somehow, you know, you can't help yourself. You just speak it all the time, and then the wound gets bigger. So, and then Mars comes around, and yes, there is that healing power to Mars, but Mars always wants to heal by fighting for the right thing, what they believe in. And, you know, thinking about it, you know, with all these retrograde energies, I can't even remember when we had 6, 7 planets retrograde at one go. And then we had the eclipse energy taking place,
Yeah.
you know, in the last few months. So Mars in Aries can actually bring us like a burst of inspiration to start with. You know, you can get your motivation back because, you know, retrograde means that you receive a second chance from life. It's something which is all about an introspective um, way of looking at things, what is surrounding you. And therefore, I would ask everyone actually to look into the mirror and then see what they have done in the last few months or in the last 6 months while they were locked up, because there should have been a change made with all the retrograde, with all this transformational energy around us. And Mars can give you now that motivation, that aspiration, that passion and desire to go out there and then start working towards those energies. And on an individual level, this is going to be an important phase for people who you know, who believe in second chances of life. This is like a second phase of your life, really. So if you want to be licking your wounds, Chiron, at home and then feel sorry for yourself, then you know what, you're just wasting a chance. And Mars retrograde is going to give you that chance. By the way, I made a retrograde video of how to interpret retrograde transits and retrograde planets in the chart, in your natal chart. So I'm going to pop the link below. I think it's a very great information. I think there is so many misconceptions about retrograde planets. We tend to be looking at them like big black bears, and I think they do give us a great, you know, great energy to work with. So yes, so Mars is going to be entering its shadow period somewhere at the end of July, which means that it's going to start slowing down and then eventually turns retrograde. And then he's going to make these very strong, powerful alignments with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And on top of that, we also have got Black Moon Lilith, and we also have got Aries conjunction to Mars as well, which is very, very powerful. What do you think about these conjunctions also with Mars?
Well, Lilith and Aries basically is like, because Lilith to me are all the like hidden desires. And but it's also like, if you talk about the mythology of Lilith, in which I read probably in the past few weeks, that before Eve came along, Lilith is the one that rejected Adam. So to actually gain back that equality in the relationship. So this kind of tells me that there's going to be lots of discord within the relationship realm with people over the coming 6 months. But it is on many levels to restore all those into karmic balance, which is what Saturn does as Mars squares it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 3 types of Lilith, and the one which is going to become prominent this time around is the Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith was the sister of Mars in the Roman mythology. So she's also a very volatile energy. It's not necessary. It's not a physical object in the sky. It's like a mathematical point between the Earth and the Moon. I'm not going to go into it because I'm not really good at astronomy, but again, it's like a fictionary type of energy what we've got in the sky. So how to explain what Black Moon Lilith could indicate is that, let's say you are burning in fire, and then you're gonna, it's a similar energy to Pluto, like talks about the rebirth part. But Black Moon Lilith is gonna be representing the burning itself. And Pluto is more like the rising of the phoenix bird, if that makes sense. So with Black Moon Lilith, we gonna have to undergo a certain type of rebirth, and you know, with Mars and Black Moon Lilith together, it can really become like a volatile energy. It can really turn into rage, because if you think about it, that Black Moon Lilith being the fire and someone wants to rise out of the fire, and we're talking about gaining your freedom back. And Mars is a fighter who also wants freedom on an individual level. So in my opinion, one of the manifestations of this is that there is going to be plenty of divorce happening, unfortunately, in the earth, but also maybe some type of demonstrations, because we've got Aries, which is actually the asteroid of discord. So he is again quite a volatile, and you know, that little demon in your head who is telling you that, oh, you should fight, and you know, like when you've got that feeling that the justice is not served, and then someone is whispering into your ear that go and get it sorted. So that's what Aries is. And actually, she was also the sister of, or she was the sister of Pluto. So she is very much associated with the Plutonic energy as well.
So you reckon with like Lilith, Aries, and Mars all there in, like, you know, in such a concentrated part of the zodiac, it's going to make people hard to compromise at all.
That's right. I feel like we've got all these Aries energies, which is all about me. And then we've got all these Capricorn energy, which is all about the government. So it's like the government is trying to put a restriction in front of you, which people can't take anymore. So, and I might have got a feeling that it's going to be about standing up about these rules and people wanting to make their own rules rather than follow someone continuously, and probably being misled as well. That's how I feel about these squares happening between Mars and Saturn, Pluto energy.
Very interesting you said that, because I observed that when Saturn actually retrograde back in Capricorn, and all the sanctions keep coming, sanctions after sanctions after sanctions, to actually like block, be it China or be it other countries, to do this and that. Like it really start rolling out one by one and in accelerated pace. Yeah.
You know, I do believe that the voice can have power this time around. Even though Saturn Pluto conjunction, as well as with Jupiter, is very strong, but we also need to mention that Mars is keeping Saturn in detriment. Now it's a little bit of a astrological terminology, so people might not understand, but all you need to know is that Mars is a little bit stronger than Saturn, even though both are in domicile positions.
Shall I share my screen to actually show the different pivotal points? Yeah, I think it would be. This is when Mars ingress into Aries, and Mars actually form a sextile with Saturn. So I think this ties back to the earlier point of, you know, people are finding particular groups or communities of people to join to actually facilitate their healing process of what happened. Because if you think about what we experienced since when the year started, is actually traumatic in many ways. Like life just stopped globally, and it's there's almost like a trauma reprogramming on Earth, and we're trying to find our newfound vision and some form of normalcy in the material world, which is like Saturn, to bring us forward, which is like Aquarius. Yeah. This is the ingression chart. So yeah, I've plotted Aries as the first sign of the wheel. So I think people can see that what you just explained. Because when Mars is rising, all the Capricorn planets are actually culminating in the chart, which is high up in the sky, and hence they do have more strength in a way.
Yeah.
You actually agree with that, Victor?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. And the other reason is if you just go on the essential dignity table on the Mars line, then you can, on the Mars line, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you can see that on the Mars line, there is a Saturn in the 4 position, right at the end. So that means that Mars is in a position where Saturn would be in its 4. So therefore, in ancient astrology, the essential dignity table was so important. That's how they read charts. And I believe it's very, very important. So that Mars has got power over Saturn. Even though Saturn is very, very strong, and we've got Pluto with its co-presence, but that Mars is holding. He has got something against Saturn, or he has got something to keep Saturn aligned, basically. So this time around, for me, Saturn and Mars energy is always about like a long distance runner energy. That's how I call it. Because Mars is that pushy energy who wants to go forward, and then Saturn is, no, let's be tactical, let's think about it. Let's focus on the breath as well, because we don't want to collapse just right before the finish line. So these two can work extremely well together when they can. This time around, it's, at one point in the retrograde phase, there is going to be a square going on between those. Well, I'm guessing that's going to happen somewhere in middle of September. Now, square talks about friction. It talks about different viewpoints, and then we need to come to terms. And that square is going to get repeated 3 times. Government, I'm just very, very
iffy about things.
No, I just find it fascinating that this year we're going to have an election going on as well. And, and this Saturn Mars square, it can easily bring again those riots in the picture, and actually Saturn does rule discrimination, so I wouldn't be shocked if the history would repeat itself.
So in Aquarius, in the ingression chart, would you think that it becomes more extreme, like more groups will get singled out?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And what I found very interesting is that when Mars hits 0 degree of Aries, it's actually squaring Sun and Moon. So
Okay,
Moon
yeah.
represents people every day, and in a sign of Libra, which is cooperation, opposing that Mars, I don't think people will cooperate very well. Both are squaring the Sun, which represents the government, if we talk about mundane astrology.
Yes, and with this Moon and Mars energy, it's like they are trying to push something down on your throat. That's the type of feeling. Moon and Mars hard aspect, unfortunately, in a natal chart could really talk about rape and aggression towards females, and just aggression to your desires, and something what you feel inside, really, that somehow gets poked. The very good manifestation of this Mars would be a pioneering energy. I just don't really see that with all these opposition squares happening at all. So on a personal level, unfortunately, I feel that this is going to be a very challenging time. And I believe that it might be a little bit harder than the last 6 months was.
So you reckon that passion actually takes over an objective view of things?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I don't see the objectivity in the charts.
Okay. Let's move on to the next turning point in this Mars retrograde phase, which is Mars enter the shadow period. So when Mars touch 15 degrees of Aries is in the shadow degree, it will come back later in November. And this is the chart for it.
Yeah,
And I
take it
think,
away.
well, you can see that in June and in this case, like July's chart, Moon is also in Libra in exactly the same sign. And I feel that it's actually riling people up. Like it's almost like my way or the highway. I think is already like boiling down to only be able to take so much that the government is shoving down people's throats. That some things are about to happen, and it's going to be like what you said, more demonstrations. Or Mars in Aries is also fighting for injustice.
And also, that moon, which can represent people, the sign of Libra really talks about what's wrong and right. So there's the sign of justice, there's the sign of balance, harmony. So people could feel with that Mars being poked again that it's out of sync at the moment. We want that sync back.
And in this, honestly, like when July swings around, I don't see Venus helping to soften things up that much, although like there's a sign-based sextile. But if I see how Venus is holding Mars in phase, not very strong.
Yeah, not a strong position.
Yeah,
Yes,
not yeah, because that Venus also rules the moon in this chart. So yeah, like there's about to be more unrest. And I think the next chart I have is for August when there's a new moon in Leo. This looks like a more palatable chart because Mars actually trines Sun and Mercury in this case. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thinking about this August chart and maybe early September as well. Then maybe they are going to be changing the times at school.
Okay.
So maybe the schools are not going to start at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, like in many countries. Maybe they're going to push it down a little bit, just because of trying to avoid congestions on the public transports. This is what came to my mind with that. Obviously, Mercury does talk about public transport, and fifth house talk about schooling. So even though the schools start, or even if the schools start in September, there is going to be some changes made around those, surely, because the bottom line is with Saturn and Pluto, the old might not be working anymore.
Right.
So a new old needs to be taken on front and revised and make slight changes on that. Going forward, whatever we did last year, it's not serving us this year. And on a human level, you guys need to embrace this. Whatever you did last year, it's outdated. Go forward in life, move on. If you've got unfinished business, this Mars is going to be poking you especially with that new moon energy, giving you new opportunities of moving ahead and basically change your future. Saturn being the planet of karmic debts, and Pluto is a financial planet as well. So I'm not talking in a literal sense, but leave your debts behind, you know, pay them off and then start fresh.
You reckon with that, in this particular chart, when Venus is applying to oppose Jupiter, there's this faith and optimism for the future, even though it's a bit unrealistic, so to speak, or it's a bit far away?
I think there is always optimism in the future, and let's not forget that Jupiter is gonna be very powerful in 1.5 years' time. Things are gonna get better, and the light at the end of the tunnel is there. Well, you're asking a person who's got 5 planets in Sagittarius. I would never ever give up. The light is there at the end of the tunnel, and it's coming. I do believe a better world is on the way.
I mean, as we enter the age of Aquarius, right? I mean, somehow, like, I think that all the big planets in Capricorn this year, all of this year is trying to signal to us that the age of Aquarius it's so close to birthing itself on the material plane that we need to get ourselves ready, and we need to leave the old paradigms of our realities. Like, this is the new normal. Don't ever think that things will go back to exactly what it was, because it won't.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next chart, which is when Mars stationed to go retrograde. So it would have done its first round of squares with all the big boy planets, all the 3 planets in Capricorn. And I see this chart as like there's something that's brewing in terms of like something's about to burst in terms of anger. Yeah, because after the date, which is like second week of September, like it actually goes retrograde and it will square all the Capricorn planets again. So I think this will be the turning point of a lot of things, be it within your relationships that you have, and with all the ambition that you have in the world. I think it's time to make a decision of what you want to like do moving forward with everything that's going on in the world. And the next one will be like when Mars actually stationed to go direct, all in middle of November. It will go back to 15 degrees of Aries, and we are actually approaching a Scorpio moon around that time because the sun and moon is really close by. But you know, I find that the Scorpio new moon, which is around like November, I think we will probably have a breather of a good time, because like Mars actually rules Scorpio too. And since it's going direct, at least we have that.
Mm-hmm.
At least we have that. Although there's probably some loose ends regarding relationships to tie up because of where Venus is in Libra. So there's that. And the very last chart that I have would be when Mars leaves the retrograde zone, which will be all the way up to like, you know, just after the New Year's in 2021. But one thing to note though, when Mars actually leaves Aries, it is actually going to conjunct Uranus. So maybe financial markets, I'm not sure, there's going to be something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before it actually touches Uranus, it's going to like square Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So there's something going on like with the money markets. That's what I gather. Yeah.
You know, if I wanted to, or if I wanted to give a couple of good pieces of advice to people, then I would say the retrograde period is going to be something where we shouldn't be making rash decisions. When you're gonna have to maintain your anger and probably your resistance against rules and restrictions as well. You know, this Mars retrograde period could increase accidents, so people should be watching out on the roads, overdoing things, surely, because feeling too passionate about something and then all of a sudden you burn out. And that's one of the biggest risks Mars always has. They easily burn out. Um, Watching out for your egoic behavior. So slow down a little bit and then, yeah, fair enough. Look at it like what I have got in this, but also how can I help others with whatever I do? Because the higher manifestation of Mars, as I said, is always about pioneering. Um, it's gonna be a great time to face any type of fears of yours. Mars and Saturn square. So facing your inner demons, put them in a basket, and then and then just close it, put a padlock on it, and just carrying the momentum forwards. Mars is a very great business planet. It's all about the drive to make more or to become the number one. So if you're focusing on your business in the retrograde period, maybe you want to be, you want to have a second thought, or you want to be consulting with someone else, whether you're making the right decisions or not. Um, with this Mars retrograde period, you can feel extremely moody. Now, especially moody when you've got plenty of water in your natal chart. Um, yeah, and then just pay attention to who you accept advice from. Is that someone who might be jealous, or is that someone who truly wants you to do better? These are my advice to the Mars retrograde period. What advice would you give to my viewers?
Well, the thing is that I actually gone through like Mars square Jupiter as one pair. That I just went down the list, and for Mars square Jupiter over this like the next coming 6 months, I think it's more of a catalyst for change, to actually have more faith and optimism to take that chance, because it is a square. It's going to really push people to the edge regarding that, to build more long lasting be it structures, because like Jupiter's in Capricorn, the sign of like eternity and what's material and what's long lasting. But then with that Saturn coming to the picture also in Capricorn, I think the best advice I can give is that although there's a lot of opportunities and you really want to make that change, but pick your battles carefully. And with the warrior inside you that's coming out, just note that there will come a time whereby you need to be willing to back down if the other side has made some concessions. So don't just kind of like bulldoze your way through.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you might lose a battle, or you might lose a fight during the Mars retrograde period, but it doesn't mean you lost the whole battle. So stand up again, and then go and then conquer the world if needed. Mars retrograde doesn't mean to give up. It just means to revisit that topic again, and then make a more.
So it's almost like when Mars goes retrograde, is internalizing and really pick whatever that you want, really, really want, and not just be impulsive and go ham on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ham on everything. So I think that lastly, when you pull Pluto into the picture, in which Mars is also squaring, um, take the high road. Don't do things that's underhanded.
Great advice, surely.
Because Pluto tends to like, because Mars can actually quicken, like, I want to get something fast. So you would be even willing to like, oh, I want to get it fast. I want it now, which is Mars in Aries, right? So you may actually choose the shadier Pluto, underhanded way of doing things. Um, just kind of hold yourself um, responsible to the aspect which is Saturn, and just take the more uh, just slow down a bit.
I can definitely imagine on a last note that we're gonna be in quarantine again, unfortunately.
In which we have
Um,
more time to reflect.
that's right. Just because Saturn Pluto conjunction, Pluto is the planet of hostage. Saturn is the restriction, right? So you are restricted to become your own hostage, basically. And Mars is gonna be something which is gonna stand up against it. So I'm expecting, at least some people, definitely some demonstrations where people are gonna feel agitated about it and they don't want to do it anymore. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. This was a shorter version of, what Mars retrograde might bring us. Um, as I said, Mars is a volatile energy, so please ensure that you stay safe and you don't need to get into unnecessary fights you know, because it's just too dangerous. So take care of yourself and then see you again soon on my next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.